Hello and welcome to We Poets. My name is Sally Baker and I'm the host of We Poets. We Poets is a poetry show for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 13. But we're doing a special series called Battlefield Poets. I'm going to be interviewing a number of veterans who are coming back from the war and agencies that help veterans. And tonight we have two special guests. And our special guests for tonight are Sergeant Jarom Vahai and Starlyn Lara. She is the Women's Veterans Coordinator at the San Francisco Swords to Plowshares Agency in San Francisco. So I'm going to be interviewing them. So here we go with Sergeant Jarom. Hi, how are you tonight?
Hi, Sally. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm so glad you could come and tell us about yourself and about this agency that you're working with to help veterans get employment when they return to civilian life. So my first question for you is, in what branch of the military did you serve?
I served in the United States Marine Corps.
And for how long?
I served in the Marine Corps for 14 years.
14 years?
Yes.
That's a long time. And where was your last tour of duty?
My last tour of duty was in Iraq, in the city of Fallujah, in 2006.
I see. And so how long have you been back here in the Bay Area?
I've been back home since 2007, September of 2007. I was on a temporary retirement, and I was just fully retired this past July.
Good for you. Could you tell us a little bit about your family?
I have four boys in our family. I'm 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and 5 stepbrothers.
Wow, so a nice big family.
Yes.
Were you the only one that served in the military?
No, my older brother served in the military, and 2 of my stepbrothers are in the military.
They're still in?
They're currently still in, yes.
I see. So tell us about you growing up as a child. What did you like to do? Did you ever think you would go into the military?
I did not think I was going to join the military at that time. I thought that I was going to go to college. I joined the military because of my older brother who joined, and he joined the Marine Corps, so I wanted to join to be with him.
Good, good. What were some of the things you liked to do together as a family growing up? Sports, and did you play a musical instrument?
I played football. I played basketball for high school. I'm not really good at musical instruments. My brother was a piano player. He plays the guitar. He taught me a little bit of guitar and piano.
Good, good. And then did you go on to college?
I am in college now.
Good. Could you tell us what college you're attending and what are some of the subjects you're taking?
I am attending Skyline College. I am taking classes to transfer to a major university to study engineering.
Good.
I've also attended Stanford. I did a presentation there for their honors symposium. I'd like to go to Stanford eventually.
Good.
So I did a symposium there with a math proof and a presentation that I did about Stonehenges and pyramids.
Wonderful. So when you were in the Middle East, I'm sure you probably visited some of the pyramids, maybe?
No, we didn't get a chance to do that, but we were close to some of the cities that were mentioned in history, in the Bible, and things like that. So.
Good. Did you learn to speak Arabic?
Yes, I did. I learned to speak Arabic the way the Iraqis speak, which is a mix of Aramaic, which is more of like biblical language, I guess. So I can communicate well with Iraqis, and communicating formally in Arabic is kind of hard for me.
I see. I guess some of those languages are difficult to learn to write and to speak, right?
Well, I think it's easier to write, but I think it's harder to speak. Their sounds are grouped together in symbols that are very similar. So our ba, pa, ta, those sounds, those are different letters in our alphabet. But in Arabic, they're the same shape, but they have different symbols above or below them. But because they're related in sound, the shapes are related. So I think learning to read it is probably a lot easier.
Good. Now my next question, when you returned back, was there a celebration for you, a public celebration, or your family? Did they celebrate your homecoming?
Well, I didn't celebrate with my family when I came home. I think a lot of us tend to isolate away from our families and friends in the beginning. And the parades were more for the battalions that I served with. We didn't come back home to the same states or the same areas. So the major cities where the celebrations were going on were in New York or in Cincinnati, but I was from here, so I would come home, just get off the plane and go home.
Oh, nobody was there to meet you and to greet you and to welcome you back?
No, but that was fine.
Oh.
I mean, we had a good welcome home in New York. We landed and we were in our uniforms, and when we stepped onto the concourse, an announcement was made that we were coming home.
Oh, that's good.
And that we had just come back from Iraq. And we had an applause start in the area around us from all the gates, the people waiting at the gates around us started to applause, and then it just started to travel down the airport. There were a lot of other gates, and they started to come out to see what was going on, and they started clapping. And
were they waving flags? And
they didn't have flags. It was just they didn't know that we were going to be there that day. We were just our plane landed, and we were transferring through to another military base, but we were transferring through the international airport. And everyone just started clapping and coming out into the main concourse and clapping.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad they did that for you. Now, my next question, what were the biggest challenges for you readjusting back into family life?
The big thing, I think, is that most veterans, and especially myself, we want to isolate.
Yes.
And be alone. We don't like to be near a lot of people or large groups or a lot of activity. Traffic, those type of things. We tend to want to be alone and isolate. So that's one of the big things that happens with veterans when we come home. So making that transition is really hard because a lot of your family and friends remember me the way I was before.
Yes.
And expect some of the same personality still. But a lot of that has been sort of changed.
Yes. Well, let's see. Now, did you have a physical injury in the war?
Yes, I was injured several times in Iraq. And those injuries are affecting me now. I walk with a cane, and I was retired because of my medical injuries. So I was involved in several explosions and was very lucky and very blessed to be alive and to not have some major, issues with my limbs. Or
about how long did it take for you to get help on the battlefield when you were injured? Like hours or?
No, it's very quick.
Oh.
Very quick response. There's helicopters that fly in, there's support, it's very quick.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Now, let's see here. How did the war affect your mental health?
Well, I do have a lot of nightmares. I do have post-traumatic stress disorder, and I have traumatic brain injury. So these have been some hurdles that I've had to try to overcome, things that have gotten in the way of my learning process, how I learn and how quickly I learn things. And also it's affected, of course, all the other things, stress levels, sleep. And when I first came home, I was in pretty bad shape. But through help, there's ways and techniques you can learn to overcome those obstacles.
Good. Do you get together with other veterans? Or they have agencies or places for recreation where you guys can go and talk, be friends with one another?
Well, we have veteran resource centers. We have them at the War Memorial downtown in the Civic Center area, across from City Hall. There's veteran resource centers on college campuses and Facebook.
Good.
That's how those are some of the main channels that we use to keep connected. And part of the process of PTSD, some of the best things for that are to connect with other veterans.
Good.
To sit down, to talk, and to process some of the things that we've been through. And see those who might have been through some of the similar things. And to see them, what they've done to overcome that. And so we share information that way.
Oh, that's great. Now, let's see here. Can you tell us what you've been doing now, your work and helping other veterans, the projects you're involved in? Could you tell us?
Yes, I have a project that I do with employment for veterans, and I have a website called GC for Vets. It's Green Careers for Veterans, and it's also, we're changing the name to Green and Gold Careers for Veterans, because not all of our careers are just green careers now. We have multiple companies that we're working with and different types of industries. So right now we're also doing more than just the green industry. I did an event in April. I had Congresswoman Spear keynote speak for that event, and I had Tesla there. Tesla Motors was there, and they interviewed over 80 veterans. And from that, since that time, they've hired 14 veterans.
Good, good.
So that's a green career, and a great green career to start out with Tesla Motors. I also have some window film projects and LED lighting projects that I'm working on developing. Currently we have Cisco that's stepping in to also hire veterans, and a large collaboration of other companies, which I can't really mention all the companies, but JP Morgan Chase, Cisco, and they're going to be hiring a lot of veterans, and I'm doing outreach right now to the California university system, to all the CSUs.
Wonderful.
In the state. There's 23 colleges, and I'm working specifically to do outreach to those veterans who are graduating from those courses to get them into very good careers with these companies.
Now, do you work with other veterans agencies across the United States, or just here in California particularly?
Well, I can work with companies all across the United States. A big one that we have that I can work with is Oracle, and they've placed veterans in Colorado.
Good.
So we can go, we can go coast to coast. And I have a job placement right now that I'm working on in Virginia. So this is for veterans all across the country. We're working to help everybody.
Good. Now, could you tell us, it'll come up on the screen, but where people can contact you who are watching the program tonight and might want to contact you, where can they contact you?
Well, the best way to contact me is through my website, gc4vets.org. I also have assistants who can process the emails. I have traumatic brain injury, so I don't keep up with too much. But through the website that I have, you can contact me. There's a veteran contact form if you're a veteran, and you can fill out that form and give me your information if you're interested in employment. If you're interested in getting my updates and my email notices, you can register your email there on my website. And then the final thing, you can call me at 650-784-61238, and that's my personal phone number.
Do you go out to schools and give talks like you're doing here on the show, or is it mostly just for adults that you speak with, groups, no children's groups or school groups?
Well, I have done some work with children in the past, especially with Northern California Equine Facilitated Therapy, working with children and horses.
Oh, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, the horses they use, that's great therapy for veterans. If you have PTSD, if you have traumatic brain injury, if you have paralysis, it's a miracle cure. It really does wonders. The veterans can ride the horses. And I've done the therapy myself. And I've seen some of my buddies who couldn't speak, who couldn't walk. They were in wheelchairs. They couldn't communicate with anyone in the outside world. They were, you know, it was a pretty sad situation, but through therapy with the horses and riding the horses, they're speaking again. I got a friend who went from a wheelchair to now he's driving a stick shift and going to college.
Wonderful. Isn't that great? I'd like to have them come on the program and maybe bring a horse. We did one show one time with a policewoman over in San Francisco, and she mounted police, and she brought her horse. So maybe I could contact them and they could bring their horse in and be a speaker.
I would be happy to put you in touch with them.
Wonderful. What a great idea.
And they can even bring some of their young children who ride the horses and have done therapy. There's children also who have suffered from MS, and cerebral palsy, and other issues, and this has helped them greatly.
Isn't this wonderful? And you'd never ridden a horse before?
Never ridden a horse before, never had been around horses. And this was a great experience because at first I didn't really like the horses because they were kind of scared of me.
Yeah, big and powerful.
But they were very scared.
Oh, the horses were scared?
Yes, very easily scared.
Oh, really?
So I didn't really trust that.
Oh, yes.
But as I got to know the horses, they have personalities. They're great. I mean, they have a real strong bond with them now. And
Oh.
I walk up to them and they put their noses against my nose.
Oh.
Yeah, I really love horses now.
Oh, well, I went to Canada one time to visit some friends of mine, and they had a little boy, and he liked horseback riding, so he wanted me to go horseback riding with him, and I'd never been on a horse, and I was so frightened. They're so huge and powerful, and I said, how am I going to get this animal to stop? You know, it started running, and I was really frightened, you know. But they are beautiful animals.
Oh, very beautiful.
Yes. Now, is there anything else you would like to bring to our audience before we have our guest come on and talk about her agency? Anything else?
Well, there's other programs that I'm working with. I just recently was invited into the Community Leaders Committee for the President of the United States.
Oh.
And we meet on telephone. I've met with him in person at the White House.
Uh-huh.
Also, I am part of the Veterans Advisory Committee for Congresswoman Spear.
Good.
And I work with several organizations, and later I'll show you my my certificate. I was Veteran of the Year for California.
Congratulations.
And these are just some of the things that I'm doing and working together with the President and with the companies together to try and create jobs and to get the economy back in shape.
Okay, well, I want to thank you. Now we're going to interview your guest that you brought along, and then we're going to come back at the end and we're going to see some of the things you brought to show to our audience. Thank you so much. Wonderful interview, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally.
Welcome back to the second half of We Poets. I'm Sally Baker, the host. We're doing a special series called Battlefield Poets, and I would now like to introduce you to my second special guest for tonight, and her name is Starlyn Lara. She is the Women's Veterans Coordinator at the San Francisco Swords to Plowshares in San Francisco, California, and she's going to tell us how her agency is helping returning veterans. Hi, how are you tonight?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you could come. So why don't you just look right there at the camera and tell us all about yourself and what you do at your agency.
Like you said, my name is Starlyn Lara, and I work for Swords to Plowshares. It's a veteran service organization in San Francisco, and I'm the Women's Veteran Coordinator. So as a veteran, I think that I am the most equipped to handle issues that are affecting female veterans, handle issues and deal with issues that are affecting all veterans. So I think that, you know, when we return from service, we return from combat and issues abroad, we have a really hard time adjusting, have a difficult time figuring out where our place is. And so organizations like Swords to Plowshares and other individuals just like Jarom are really those ties that bring us back to a sense of community with our fellow veterans and with the communities that we reassimilate back into.
Good. Are there many women veterans who serve in combat? I was so surprised to learn this. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, it's about between 15 to 18% of the armed forces are women.
Oh.
So women with children, families, loved ones, they're doing the exact same thing that men are doing, fulfilling most of the same roles in the military as well as the same roles in combat. So there are definitely way more women than what our society understands serving in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Could you tell us about some of the women that you met there and became friends with?
I have some lifelong friends. You know, my military career was really very extensive. I spent nearly 12 years on active duty in the Army.
12 years?
Yeah, 12 years. It's so hard to believe thinking back, but you know, some of the women are still very, very dear close friends that I speak with on a daily basis. One of my best friends, she lives right here. She works with waste management and she's very, very happy and successful. And there are women all over, and you would really be surprised because they're less likely to let you know that they're a veteran, and they're much less likely to seek services. Services at the VA and services within other veteran service organizations. But if you ask the question, you'll find very happy, successful, energetic, and women who really want to find the best way that they can to give back to their veteran population. So there are many veterans in the Bay Area, and so many women veterans. It's absolutely amazing.
Isn't this great? Now, when you spoke with some of these veterans, women who had children at home, what were some of the issues that they talk about leaving their children at home?
Leaving their children at home is a huge, huge obstacle. I mean, I cannot imagine knowing that I'm serving my country, but to leave my child with a loved one, with a family member for 6, 9, 12, and in some instances 18 months straight. And not being able to be that active role that mothers are, not being able to put their child to bed at 8:30 every night, not being able to be the one that wakes the child up, gets them ready for school, sends them off to school, greets them when they come home, take them to baseball practice, and have a good time every weekend. And so families have to struggle, and mothers, I can't imagine how hard that struggle must be, but to then return and try to rebuild those relationships, rebuild the bond with their children that has severely suffered by their military commitment. And families are burdened so much by our conflicts abroad and by the service of our men and women in the military. I think that children suffer. There's that secondary post-traumatic stress disorders. There's a secondary depression, and children need the attention and the coping mechanisms, the treatment, the therapy, just as our veterans do, to help them figure out the best way that they can learn how to deal with their parents' struggles and some of the things that their parents have dealt with that maybe is really difficult for them to express to a child in a way that the child will understand. So the military is spending a lot more time and effort to try to ensure that children, family members, grandparents, uncles, and cousins know what kind of commitments their family members have given and how best to bring the family back together when they return from services.
Now, I think we've run out of time for this particular section, but when we come back, I want the two of you to show some things that you brought here to share, and we'll continue with our conversation. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment. And now, Starlyn's going to tell us the mission of her agency.
Thank you. I work for Swords to Plowshares, and like we talked about earlier, it's a veteran service organization out of San Francisco. It's been around since 1974, and its mission is veterans helping veterans. So our organization has health and human services, an employment and training program that works hand in hand with Jarom to employ veterans. We also have a housing department that has permanent and supportive housing, as well as the department I work for, which is the policy department, which is to ensure that veterans from this current war do not face some of the struggles that our Vietnam veterans faced and continue to face to this day.
Wonderful, and this is a lovely poster here that you brought, and thank you for bringing that.
Thank you.
All right, what's next?
The first thing I brought was my article from the San Mateo Times, and this was the event that we held at Skyline College. We had Congresswoman Spear keynote speak, and we had Tesla and several other green electric car companies show up. We had Nissan and Chevy as well. And this is my EDD placard right here. The placard here is the award that I was given by the Employment Development Department of the state. And this was for the work that I've done with that event. And afterwards, I was recognized by Assemblyman Jerry Hill for my work with the veterans and working with the EDD and with Swords to Plowshares and getting employment and jobs and services for veterans.
Wonderful. Well, I'm very proud of you, and proud of you too, both of you, for serving in the military and protecting our country. These are wonderful, wonderful things. Now, is there anything else you would like to put out before we end our program, either of you?
I think that if you're a veteran and you are seeking some assistance, some services, or you really just want to connect with other veterans, contact me, contact Jarom, and contact any of the other veteran service organizations that are in your community. I think that it is imperative that we communicate with each other and we support each other.
Are you having any upcoming events before the end of the year?
Actually, yes, we have our annual Veterans Day dinner, which is our one event throughout the year where we raise money to help support veterans. And it's our annual fundraiser that allows us to give back to the community and to honor the veterans who have struggled and who are now doing great and are, active and participant parts of their communities.
Good. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Veterans Day is, an opportunity for the communities to recognize the veterans within their communities and to acknowledge some of the struggles. So our organization, Swords to Plowshares, has our annual Veterans Day Gala, which is our Veterans Day dinner. It'll be held on the 10th, and it'll be held in San Francisco, and it's an opportunity for us to give back to our community.
Wonderful. Would you like to add anything before we say goodbye?
Yes, contact GC for Vets if you're a veteran and you're looking for employment, or if you are friends or family members of a veteran, tell them to contact GC for Vets, and I'll do my best to get you meaningful employment and a career in the green field.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so proud of both of you for coming and sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And we need more people like you. So without further ado, let's tell our watching audience goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you.